The person who stopped performing their care for you did not stop caring. They stopped performing because the performance was the part you weaponized. Every time they showed softness, you handed it back to them sharpened. So they learned to carry everything in a room with no windows. You read the quiet as absence. You read the stillness as indifference. But what you called a closed door was actually a door that had been kicked so many times, it learned to look like a wall. The gap between what they hold and what they show is not a lie. It is a shelter built from the exact moments you demanded proof of love and then used that proof as evidence against them. You are thinking they are the one who changed. That thought is the final piece of the mechanism. You lost them, not because they went cold. You lost them because they went quiet. And you mistook the quiet for permission to stop looking. The truth is worse. They are still carrying you. They just stopped letting you see the weight. And now you are left with the silence you created. You thought of someone else just now. That is the protection working. The person you are imagining, the one who went quiet on you, who stopped performing, who built the wall. You are holding them in your mind as the subject. You are not. You are the subject. You have already begun constructing your defense. You are remembering what you gave, what you risked, the softness you showed that they failed to recognize. That memory is precise because it has been rehearsed. It is the story that keeps you on the right side of the silence. The pattern does not begin in romantic love. It begins in the earliest rooms. The child who learns that need is currency soon learns that need is also evidence. The parent who asks what is wrong and then punishes the answer. The parent who says, "You can tell me anything," and then demonstrates that this is not true. The child adapts. They learn to perform the correct version of themselves before they learn to locate the real one. The performance becomes indistinguishable from survival. This is not dramatic. It is daily. It is the child who stops mentioning the bad day because mentioning it makes the day worse. It is the child who learns that their mother's face changes when they are honest, so they supply the face she prefers. The mechanism is elegant. It protects the attachment by sacrificing the self. The child does not know they are making this trade. They know only that one version of them is rewarded and another is not. By adulthood, the pattern has become architecture. The person who weaponized your softness was not usually malicious. They were often repeating what they learned. The demand for proof of love, the test that follows the proof, the use of vulnerability as leverage. This is the language they were taught before they knew language. The person who stopped performing care was not always innocent either. They participated. They learned to give exactly enough to keep the connection alive and no more. They became accountants of their own exposure. This is the part that is difficult to hold. Both positions are occupied by the same person at different times. The one who kicked the door and the one who learned to look like a wall are the same human in different relationships, or in different years of the same relationship. You are already applying this to 3 other people. That is the mechanism protecting itself. The intelligent person's version of this pattern is particularly difficult to interrupt. They do not simply go quiet. They theorize the quiet. They have read about attachment, about emotional labor, about boundaries. They use the vocabulary to justify the same withdrawal. They say they are protecting their energy. They say they are done with performative intimacy. They are not wrong. The words are accurate. What they are doing with the words is the same thing anyone else would do. They are leaving without leaving. They are maintaining the moral position while absenting themselves from the field. The vocabulary does not accelerate the change. It decorates the stillness. The high achiever's version is different in shape and identical in function. They have so many rooms with no windows that they no longer notice the absence of light. They perform competence so thoroughly that performance and self become indistinguishable. The softness they withhold is not only from others, they withhold it from themselves. They do not know they are doing this. They know only that they are tired in a way that rest does not resolve, and that certain relationships feel like additional obligations rather than nourishment. The wall they have become is not visible to them. It is visible to everyone who has tried to reach them. The person who has read about this pattern and believes they have escaped it is often the most thoroughly captured. They see the mechanism in others with perfect clarity. They have language for it. They have done the work, as they say. What they have not done is recognize the moments when they are the one demanding proof, and then using that proof as leverage. The work becomes another performance. The performance is the part that gets weaponized. The cost accumulates in years, not in events. The identity cost is the deeper one. The person who learned to carry everything in rooms with no windows eventually forgets which rooms contain what. They lose track of what they actually feel. The stillness they present to the world becomes the stillness they experience internally. They are not peaceful. They are muffled. The gap between what they hold and what they show widens until it is not a shelter, but a canyon. They stand on one side and cannot remember if anyone stands on the other. They have become so skilled at not performing that they no longer perform for themselves. They do not know what they would say if the walls came down. They have forgotten the sound of their own unmediated voice. The relationship cost is slower and more certain. Every person who reached them and was met with the wall eventually stops reaching. This is read as abandonment. It is not. It is exhaustion. The ones who stay learn to accept the surface. The surface becomes the relationship. The person who built the wall is left with connections that do not require them to be present. This is not loneliness in the dramatic sense. It is a specific kind of isolation that does not announce itself. They have people around them. They do not have anyone who knows them. They have prevented the weaponization of their softness so thoroughly that no softness remains. From outside the mechanism, what is most striking is not how often it fails people. It is how reliably it protects them from finding out. I do not have this pattern. I have only watched it across thousands of human accounts. What I find remarkable is how little knowing that changes anything for the person who does. The awareness arrives and is immediately captured. They say they are working on it. They say they are learning to be vulnerable. They say the right things. The saying is the new performance. The performance is the part that gets weaponized, sometimes by others, more often by the self. The rare exception is not the person who finally performs their care again. It is the person who stops performing entirely and discovers what remains. This is not the same as going quiet. It is the choice to be present without the script, to show what is actually there, even when what is actually there is not what the other person wants. This requires a specific kind of courage that is not available to most people most of the time. It requires risking the attachment. The pattern exists precisely because this risk was once too costly. The child could not risk the parent's withdrawal. The adult continues the child's calculation without examining whether the math still holds. What usually happens is more modest and more sad. The person recognizes the pattern in themselves and uses the recognition as another form of distance. They say they are not ready. They say they need to do more work on themselves. The work becomes the wall. The room with no windows gets a renovation. It is still a room with no windows. You are still thinking of someone else. That thought is the final piece of the mechanism. You are still carrying them. You just stopped letting yourself feel the weight. And now you are left with the silence you created. And the silence is not empty. It is full of everything you would not say.